Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. A reminder, we are back in the studio and streaming live once again on Sportsnet's YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. I am joined by my producer and co-host, Alex Wong. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Day after the trade deadline, the Raptors extending their win streak last night against a bunch of 12-year-olds playing in Houston Rockets jerseys. So
The jerseys were fire.
the jerseys
I
were
love
fire.
those jerseys,
Yeah,
especially the shorts too. But
those are the Yao Ming days for you, man.
yeah, but actually though,
No, like that.
yeah,
That brings you back to when you first came to this country.
me and Yao
this-
Ming were on the same China Airways flight.
Anyways,
That's not true.
yeah. Anyways, Masai Ujiri is scheduled to do a press conference right now, actually. So we're gonna keep an eye on that,
Yeah.
and hopefully, if everything starts on time, we will cover it in the second segment. Figure that's more efficient than us just kind of reacting to quotes and things that are coming out in real time. I mean, if Masai announces that he's stepping down or something, I guess we'll not talk about Kevin Porter Jr.'s last shot at the buzzer that should have counted, and we'll talk about Masai instead. But Bobby Webster was on the Fan Morning Show
Yep.
this morning. It was
My dad's favorite program.
yeah, your dad's favorite program. Your dad,
Not this one.
yeah,
but
your dad
that his
continues
son is
to.
on.
Yeah, does he have a problem with me?
No, just me.
Oh, okay, okay.
No. He's just working at this time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Shouts to Ronald.
Shouts to Ronald.
Bobby did say a few interesting things, so I'll read them off here and get your reaction.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will, so in terms of strategy, I don't think there's any surprise. He talked about always focusing on the long-term flexibility and that the Raptors approached this trade deadline as buyers because they had the Goran Dragic contract as an asset. He was asked whether the team's draft record made swapping picks easier, basically moving down 10 spots in the draft. He said yes, but also there's just a historical precedent and that the way they approach their draft board is they usually have a top 5. And after that, when it gets to the 15s, 20s, and 30s, they view it as a crapshoot. And the other interesting thing was because the Raptors are on this win streak, their own first round pick became less valuable because it started slipping. So that probably affected some of the trade talks as well. The most interesting thing I wanted to get your thoughts on is he was asked whether they were willing to move future first round picks in the right deal. And Bobby said yes, they were. So obviously there was not that right deal to throw in more draft picks. I think that's interesting to me because I think that gives a little insight into how they might approach this summer. Because when I look at this summer, for me, the most important thing, if you are happy with the starting 5, is continuing to add depth to this team, right?
Yeah, I think it's another sign that they're committed to this core. Like, I think Bobby also said that if they were going to bring in somebody, a major acquisition, which he did hint at before the deadline when he did that press conference, a day before the deadline itself, and he said, you know, it's probably unlikely to make any major moves considering the fact that they're really invested in this core starting 5. They see the potential they have, and Bobby's quote on this was just, you basically need to be looking at a top 10 player at their position to be able to take any of their spots. And that doesn't mean that, you know, that's not possible, but outside of James Harden and maybe Ben Simmons, right? Who were the top 10 at their positions type of players that were moved? Maybe you can make a case for Sabonis.
Sure, but that
I don't think the Raptors were in on Sabonis. By the way,
cost a lot.
I think also that Sabonis deal, as we talked about that day, well, I guess you weren't here, but I talked to Eric Green, and basically was like, well, if they traded for Sabonis and the Kings came over the top with that Halliburton package, you're pretty much Miles Turner is off the table now. He might have been off the table regardless, but clearly the Indiana Pacers wanted to trade one of their 2 centers, and if they're going to get Halliburton for one of them, you basically have to match that package to get their other center, right? If you were even going to persuade them not to get Halliburton for Sabonis. So other than that, who are the top 10 players at their positions moved? Maybe CJ McCollum. You know, maybe he's aging out of that part, and also he's had some health injuries of late. So, you know, you got to be concerned there, but he's also making a lot of money. I don't know if necessarily he would have fit the Raptors timeline there. So yeah, you know, it makes sense in retrospect. And I think the other part that, you know, I'm just surprised by the day after is just like, okay, Thad Young thing, I think it's good. It's a good move. We talked about this for an hour and a half yesterday. It's the most Thad Young's been talked about on a podcast before. But I would have liked to see them add one more shooter, quite honestly. But right now, Gary Trent Jr. is also like scoring 40 a game. So he's averaging 29 points per game in his last 10 games. It's outrageous. So I guess they don't need shooting so long as Gary and Fred are essentially the best shooting backcourt in the league.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to it today, maybe in the second segment, but at some point, we definitely should talk about Gary Trent Jr.'s long-term ceiling, because I think he has opened up that conversation in terms of where he might end up if he keeps playing and, like you mentioned, scoring this way. A couple other things that Bobby mentioned in his presser yesterday, to add to them not being too concerned about trading a first rounder and getting the Detroit Pistons second rounder back. He said, quote, "We don't see a ton of incremental change between those picks." And in terms of Thad Young, Bobby did mention that it's a player that they've wanted for several years now. He said, quote, "He's a known commodity around the league," and went on to say that Thaddeus at this point in his career is where he can complement this core without substituting what the Raptors are doing. And that was the philosophy for the Raptors, maintaining and respecting what this group is doing and adding to it. I think this is interesting too, because we all know the trade deadline conversations don't just end because the deadline has passed. Like those conversations, if they had them about Jakob Poeltl, about Bogdan Bogdanovic, all of these players that have been mentioned in the past couple of weeks, you could explore them again in the summer.
You can, yeah. And I think that's where they did hold on to some of their flexibility. I'm curious though, like, do you see this Kristaps Porzingis rumor?
That was floating around yesterday before the deadline.
Yeah, that the Raptors were potentially in on Kristaps, or I don't know. It seemed like maybe to me it seems like Dallas was in on dumping Kristaps, considering the fact that they got rid of him, not even for expiring salary, not for picks, not for prospects, for Spencer Dinwiddie, who did not fit with the Wizards. I think he's better than what he's shown with the Wizards. I think that's a bad fit, but still not a spectacular player. And Davis Bertans, who,
yeah, he's $90 million Matt Thomas.
Damn.
So no, I get it. I think
would you have wanted Kristaps?
No, but I get your point. Okay. I think what I heard from
sources,
not sources around the league.
Come on, man. Let's hear the sources.
What I heard from canvassing NBA podcasts this morning is the Mavericks and Raptors did have conversations, and the starting convo was around Goran and a first-round pick. But I believe the Raptors would have had to throw in a few more pieces just to make the salary work. Now, if you're talking about they're just dumping money, you're probably talking about throwing in a Chris Boucher or Malachi Flynn, attaching the first-round pick, and they could have gotten Porzingis. I'm not sure if I was that interested in
that. Yeah, me neither.
Porzingis seems like a very high-potential Nick Nurse doghouse player to me.
So he makes $31 million. Goran was at 19.4. You would need to throw in, at minimum, Chris Boucher.
They could have made
something else.
They could have made the money work if it was just to fill in the money.
And they would be like in the tax as well.
Yeah, you don't make that move for a Kristaps Porzingis, not for this team.
I'm cool with that. Kristaps has $34 million committed to his contract next year, and then 36 the year after as a player option. So it's a lot of money. And I don't think the Raptors want to take on long-term money. But, I mean, look, listen, the trade deadline has come and passed. The buyout market, we'll see if the Raptors get into it or not. You know, Bobby did mention because of the fact that the Raptors still have a portion of the MLE to use and they have some space under the luxury tax, you know, they can maybe offer guys a little bit more money as like an added incentive to sign with the Raptors if they choose to try to compete for somebody like that. At the same time, I will say the biggest motivating factor for these players on buyout markets is, well, A, can they win a championship? Right, and I still think, despite the Raptors playing so well, I don't think that's what teams are coming to. So that's not what players are coming to the Raptors to do. And then the other part is, can they get enough playing time so they can showcase themselves for a second contract after this? And that matters more than, let's say, an extra $1 million that you can get in a buyout situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to some of the conversations we had yesterday about expectations surrounding what the Raptors were going to do at the trade deadline. The Raptors were not one piece away from becoming a championship contender. Bobby said earlier this week in his pre-trade deadline presser that this is not the final look of this team, and they're still building and adding pieces. So I think that's why they added Thad Young. That's why they drew the line on not trading additional draft picks to get additional players. They're going to see what happens the rest of the season. We saw a little bit last night, some of the bench guys playing against the Houston Rockets able to get extended run.
Yep.
I think some of those guys have to figure into the rotation for the next 2 months. And then you get
as long
into,
as we keep playing the Rockets, yes.
yeah, you get into the
and
playoffs.
you can put anybody in that rotation against the Rockets, man.
You get into the playoffs, you play your top 7 guys, and then you reevaluate in the offseason.
Yeah.
So overall, I think if we were to take a step back, everything the Raptors did this week to me made sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And I think they made positive improvements. Nick also had some comments about Thad Young. He was asked about it, I think, post-game. He said, quote, "I think Thad will fit in well. My favorite thing is that he's going to be versatile on the defensive end," which is, exactly what you would expect Nick to say. "So we won't have to change the things we're doing." And that's a key quote, too, because I do think that if they brought in a more traditional center, and I was in favor, for example, of them acquiring a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, who didn't really seem like he was involved in any trade talks. Portland's rebuilding, but they're holding Dame and also Nurkic. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I don't know what Portland's doing other than trying to save money.
Yeah, we should call Gary Trent Sr. again just to get his thoughts.
We should call Gary Trent Sr. for any thoughts that he has, really. But I mean,
you're a sucker.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Wow, that's a great drop, producer.
Shout outs Derek Brandale.
Shout out Derek, man. Best producer in the game. All right.
Next to DJ Premier.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
All right.
Different
anyway,
genre.
so Nick said, he didn't have to change things that you're doing on the defensive end with that.
Yep.
And I think that's where the Raptors do like what they do. Right, Nick clearly wants the guys to defend. He said it multiple times. His players have said it. The guys get freedom on offense when they play their hardest on defense, right? So I think Thad will fit into that. I think, honestly, watching the game yesterday and watching OG of late does seem kind of labored.
You're finally coming around to the idea that the players are playing too many minutes and might be tired?
No, I just been on a back-to-back, against Houston. Was he the most focused in the first couple of quarters? Not necessarily. Thought OG turned it on in the fourth quarter, as he usually does, and really helped that group lock in there with Pascal resting with 5 fouls. So I think that fits, and I think Nick will find a good way to use him. And I think the other part that Nick was also talked about and was asked about is, like, you got a lot of centers coming off your bench. Arguably, you got 4 centers coming off your bench that you probably have plans to play on an average game. How are you going to manage that? And he said, we're not afraid of being unorthodox around here.
Yeah. So there you go. I know you were concerned about that yesterday. The imbalance.
I mean, that doesn't
roster.
address the concern. Nick's just like, yeah, it's going to be hard, but.
Do you think Nick is happy with what happened at the trade deadline?
Yes, because he has another piece that he can play. Yeah.
I think ideally you would have wanted 2 pieces, but again, it goes back to the price.
I mean, ideally you would have 2 pieces. Ideally you have 3 pieces.
No,
ideally we would have gotten Giannis and LeBron.
I'm not asking for the moon. I think 2 would have been nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm happy with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Is that enough Thad Young coverage for this week?
That's until we see this man play and we do another whole hour on him. I think this is good for now. Let's talk about that game last night. The Raptors scoring 139 points to beat the Houston Rockets. We're going to talk about the game itself, but the most pressing topic is you came into the office early today, which I mean like 1:35, and you were just irate
Tired
and
of
you
you
were,
telling
you were
everyone my whole
heated
schedule, man.
about this specific incident that happened at the end of the game. Alex, take it away.
I was heated. So the game was over. The Houston Rockets had the ball. Kevin Porter Jr. was just messing around in front of the Raptors basket. He bounced the ball, and it went through the Raptors basket. And this was before the end of the game. Like, there was still time on the clock when it left his hand. And the referees conferred and looked at it. And I think they just laughed about it. Nick had a reaction to it, but nobody really cared because it was 139.
Malachi cared. He won those 2 points.
It was 139 to 120. The game was over. The refs looked at it. They just laughed it off and didn't add those 2 points. Now, I get it doesn't impact the game, but what if somebody had the Raptors minus 20 in gambling and they needed that extra basket? Or what if you were such a degenerate that you had Malachi Flynn over 8.5 points and he finished with 8 points? In general, too, I think there's just a rule that if the ball goes in the basket.
Yeah, we looked this up.
Before the buzzer
as long as it's not thrown from out of bounds, any live ball that goes through the hoop is a bucket.
Yes, so I messaged Kiki Vandeweghe at the NBA, and per Rule 5, Section 1, Part D of the NBA rulebook, quote, a field goal accidentally scored on an opponent's basket shall be added to the opponent's score, credited to the opposing player nearest the player whose actions caused the ball to enter the basket. And in this case, we rewatched the clip, and it was Malachi Flynn. So the final score should have been 141 to 120.
Yeah. First off, I think it's great to see that you are passionate about basketball. This is the most passion I've heard.
This is the
from
most
you.
passion since the 2019 NBA Finals.
Yeah, no, genuinely. I think
Actually, I think I was pretty calm during the finals.
you were pretty chill. You're like, wow, another check. Every round the
I was
Raptors
like,
kept playing, you're like, oh, wow, more checks.
Oh, you know when I was the most stressed was when the Raptors were down 2-1 to Philly in the second round.
Yeah, that was also when I was most stressed, yeah.
And I remember we were at Yahoo Sports Canada, and I was in a studio with a couple guys, and they were like, "Hey, you haven't said a word." In the
Wasn't
second
Tyler
half.
Ennis?
Yes, Tyler Ennis was
former
there.
NBA player.
Tyler Ennis looked at me and was
Yeah.
like, "Cause you know me, like I'm usually pretty chill, make jokes. Like Vivek has been on the program talking about what it's like sitting next to me during a game." In that second half in Philly, as the Raptors were about to go down 3-1, I didn't say a single word. My face was just completely white. Tyler Ennis was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I'm not gonna make any money in the next 2 months if they lose this game here.
This guy said, I got a mortgage, man.
Why? It's like, I got a mortgage. I can't be asking my dad for money again. So, like, Kawhi hit that shot. 2-2 was great. I was real nervous during Game 7, too. I was real nervous after they went down 2-0 to the Bucks. I was real nervous when Kevin Durant came back. I was real nervous when Danny Green threw the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, Danny Green, bro. What's going on, man?
But we did it. Anyways.
Yeah. So you want the 2 points.
I just think rules are rules.
You said a man's got to have a code. A league's got to have a code.
If the game is tied 48-48 with 5 minutes left in the first half, and say Pascal Siakam does a bounce pass to Precious Achiuwa, and say Pascal accidentally bounces the ball into the Houston Rockets basket.
By the way, they had ample opportunities to try that, considering how little paint protection was there with the Rockets yesterday.
Honestly, I feel like last night was a Harlem Globetrotters game. But if that happened in the course of a game, you would count that basket. So why would you not count that basket at the end of the game?
Okay.
Just because it's a blowout.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, Adam Silver. You have a lot to answer for.
I'm just saying, if I was gambling and had that parlay, I'd be very upset.
Were you gambling? Because you're
I no
speaking
longer
with
gamble.
the passion that
No, I no longer gamble.
You're Adam Sandler right now.
I no
talking
longer,
to Mike Francesco.
I no longer gamble. So let's talk about this. So the Raptors came out. What's the best word for it? Lackadaisical.
Yep.
Unserious.
41 points in the first quarter for the Houston Rockets,
which is just unacceptable.
Yes.
And Nick Nurse said in the first quarter, it's time for you guys to wake up. We're going to run the full court press. Please grade the Houston Rockets' performance in reacting to the Raptors' full court press.
Yeah, so it was the number one thing that stood out to me. The Raptors ran the full court press at the end of the first quarter. As soon as they started the strategy, they scored 3 straight times, or they got turnovers 3 straight times with the Houston Rockets, okay? So you might say, well, it's a young team. They probably weren't expecting it. You don't expect to be full court press in the first quarter, the day of the trade deadline. Okay, I get it, right? You know, the Raptors didn't really do it that much the rest of the half. So, the coaching staff might have used the timeout to talk about it on the floor, or at least when you go to the halftime, Steven Silas like, hey, guys, I know you guys are on your phones, but can I just have your attention for 5 seconds? Like, this is how you beat a full court trap. Okay, we're going to have 2 guys in the backcourt, someone around half, someone up above, just who's, going to be able to capitalize and dunk and whatever, and just make plays at the rim after you have a numbers advantage. Basic stuff of just how to beat a full court trap. They come out, second half, and the Raptors turn them over like 5 more times afterwards. I went back and actually clipped all, because I went through the NBA.com. They have a video box score. You can click pretty much any number, and they'll show you all the plays, right? So 21 on the Houston Rockets turnover ledger. I hit the link. I went through, and I clipped together all the videos of them turning the ball over in just off of full court press or just failing to bring the ball up 11 times. And 8 of those directly went for layups for the Raptors. It goes beyond unprofessional. I think unprofessional is probably what Porter was doing at the end, scoring on his own basket. But
yeah, if people haven't seen,
this team's a joke.
There was an earlier game this season when somebody at the Rockets game captured a video of Kevin Porter Jr. sitting on the bench, ordering what I believe was custom grills from a guy courtside. This happened during a game.
He should save his money, man.
Well, I'm not even trying to pick on Kevin Porter Jr., but there just needs to be some organizational stability, especially when you're a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me watching Houston last night and watching Charlotte earlier this week. When it comes to on the court, Like those teams don't even attempt to play defense for half of the game.
Yeah.
And it does make me appreciate what Nick Nurse does with this team.
Yeah.
Now, he draws a very hard line.
There's a standard, though.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, for as much as we sometimes criticize Nick for putting players in the doghouse, quitting on them too quick, only playing the starters, this is how you build. When people talk about culture, like heat culture, right? Like, this is about establishing culture.
Yeah.
Like, what culture? Like, I don't particularly care about the Rockets because we cover the Raptors.
Yeah.
And I was joking with you, like, imagine if you had to do the Rockets show in Houston. It would be Yao Ming, Monday to Friday.
Like I told you, it would literally be Mandarin Mondays. Every Monday, we would do a whole show.
There is a huge Asian
Mandarin.
population in Houston.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, but
I
it does.
just couldn't believe it. I mean, but you know what though? This is the thing. Like, this is like, you and I probably had strict parents growing up. Just if I'm gonna try to affirm some stereotypes, and like later
No,
on,
my parents
in
are
life,
pretty
it
easy
pays
on
off.
me. That's why I'm like this. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
well there you go. You're the Houston Rockets. I'm the Toronto Raptors. But like, no, but you have to have a standard. Why are people coming to your games if you can't beat a full court press? I'm sorry, but like that's something you should have resolved in middle school.
Yeah. That's
So-
why I said it was a bunch of 12-year-olds
And
in
then-
Rockets jerseys.
Having said that, though, impressive scoring performance by Gary Trent Jr. and Pascal Siakam, combining for 72 points
Oh man.
just
Yeah.
by themselves. And I know some of it was like, okay, the defense was bad. Like genuinely, Gary probably got like 5 run-out layups, right? Got some open threes and stuff like that. But they also had some pretty tough buckets as well, right? And when you look at Pascal in the second quarter, I didn't even realize this until I went back and wrote 10 things. Do you know Pascal had 21 points in the second quarter on 9 of 10 shooting? And how many times of late have we just come on and talked about, hey, Pascal just had a 15-point quarter. Pascal just had a 20-point quarter. This is like every game.
We got to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure Pascal had a 21-point quarter against Atlanta last Friday.
I think first quarter, yeah.
Yeah.
First quarter, yeah.
So
this is what he does.
second time in like less than 7 days.
And Atlanta actually plays defense.
Yeah, but he was cooking Clint Capella though.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, listen, nothing will rival the defense played by Alperen Şengün. Every time, by the way, they say Şengün, I always think of Shenyun, the propaganda outlet. Anyway, what else am I going to talk about? Christian Wood, the lack of help defense. I was just going through I didn't even bother rewatching the game. I just watched the highlights. But every Raptor highlight, you just watched Christian Wood and he would literally have Kem Birch in the corner. His assignment's to guard Kem Birch. No offense to Kem, right? He's recovering and everything like that. But in his current state, might be one of the easiest defensive assignments you can get in the NBA. We're talking about NBA basketball players, okay? And Kem Birch is not even in the pick and roll, just waiting in the corner, where he's not necessarily a prolific shooter. And he turns down a lot of shots too. So Christian Wood is the helper at the edge of the paint with Kem Birch. And Pascal's driving to the rim, no help. Gary Trent's driving to the rim, no help. What are you doing? But again, that's another team with no standard. They have no standards at all, that team. Alperen Şengün's trying to guard Delano Banton one-on-one. Delano goes for one big crossover. It was a really nice move. But he literally cleared out of the way. It's like an automatic door. This guy just like walked up, like, hey, I would like to score, please. And then he literally just like stepped aside.
Wow, this is a new elevator doors play.
That's the new elevator
You
doors
just slide right
defensive
in and
play.
score.
Damn.
You just slide right in and score. There's a concierge there. Josh Christopher is the concierge. You mentioned Pascal and Gary. So they both scored over 25 points in the first half last night. Pascal had 26, Gary 25. They became the first pair of teammates, actually the third pair of teammates since 1997-98 to each record 25-plus points in the first half of a game. The other two pairs were Stephen Clay and James Harden and Chandler Parsons. So that was obviously the first time this happened in Raptors franchise history. I mean, I guess I'll ask you real quick, like, when you look at Gary's entire offensive package, like, what is the ceiling for him as an offensive player?
That's the thing. I don't actually know. He keeps redefining it.
Is there like a comp? Because I always find it easy if you
Yeah.
can like do a comp, right? Like I've been trying to think of a comp for Gary, present day or even like someone who's retired. Can you think of a comp?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's hard. I mean, you can always look at people's numbers, and this is when you fall in the trap of, OG's the next Kawhi. Look at the numbers year over year, it's similar.
Yeah,
right?
forget about numbers. I'm talking about just like when you're watching him
Stylistically?
play. Yeah, like stylistically, the way he gets his buckets. Because he does so much.
At times, especially when he's driving downhill towards the basket, and his ability to not necessarily always play with the ball but also his aggression on defense and the way he's able to come off curls and stuff like that. There's some elements of Bradley Beal in there. And I know in the past I was like, this is a ridiculous comparison, right? I think you asked me this one time running back, but like genuinely speaking, like there's elements when you watch back on the 10 game win um, stretch here where the Raptors went 9-1 with Gary scoring 29 points per game. Like some of it is Bradley-esque. Now I think what Bradley does have is that like explosiveness in the middle of the lane that I think that Gary doesn't quite have, and that is a pretty big thing when defenses are covering you really tight and you're coming around a curl. Like the more you're able to pop and explode off that screen, the more separation you're gonna get, the more times you're probably gonna beat the defense at the rim. I think still in that element, Gary just doesn't have that athleticism, but at the same time, skill wise, he's showing a lot of different ways to score. Right, he's getting downhill. He's drawing fouls now too. For the amount of times he's taking step back jumpers, he's starting to leave the trail leg out there so that guys can kind of bang into it a little bit, get 3-point foul calls. Right, he's had that happen a few times here. Did it against Bam, did it against Atlanta, did it here against Houston. So I think he's continuing to improve and just thrive and get the chance to. I mean, look, the reality with a lot of people, not just NBA players, but like just a lot of people, they don't have enough opportunities, whether due to luck or due to circumstance or due to privilege or whatever, to show their full potential in life. And you have to get really lucky in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Gary really got into a perfect spot here, where the starting spot was his, and he said it to Amy Audibert in the postgame interview. He said, you know what, the Raptors welcome me with open arms. You know, what's the exact quote? Quote: They brought me in with open arms. They showed me nothing but unconditional love, no matter how I'm playing, and I don't want to be anywhere else. And like that's real, but it's also just like I don't think a lot of people get that chance in life, and I think Gary's getting that chance. He's making the most of it. Fred was out yesterday, so what does he do? Fred's out. Fine, I'll take all the shots Fred takes, and I'll have 42 points, which is pretty much their average collectively on the season scoring wise. So salute to Gary Trent. I'm very happy, and of course, obviously, we have the context of what his dad told us on Monday of how hard of a time he had it in Portland at times, right? Not to say Portland never gave him any opportunities. Let's be real. Portland also started him. They also played him. They drafted him.
But every situation is different.
Every situation is very different, and he's getting a great chance here. And happy for Gary, man. And again, he's only 23. He's got a long way to go, man. This guy's younger than Keyshawn.
Wow,
that's my bar for if you're too young for me to talk to you.
Wow, yeah, I'm happy for Gary. And the most impressive thing for me is he has stepped up every time a starter has gone missing. When OG was out for injury for a bit, Gary really stepped up on the offensive end. And last night, obviously, with Fred out with the groin soreness. So Masai has started his presser, starting to see some of the quotes trickle in. So why don't we take this break? And then when we come back, we can react to some of Masai's comments.
Let's do that. We're going to take a break. I'm your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, powered by DoorDash. I am your host, Will Lou. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. Alex, we have lots of shout-outs to get to. So let's get to them. Thank you to everyone who made the Raptors Show and the Raptors Reaction Podcast possible this week, including our producer, Derek, Jennifer Rolnick, for helping with the YouTube stream, JR, Ryan Fabro, Kyle, Maria, DT, Greg Sansoni, Pat Flash, and everyone supporting us behind the scenes. And there are truly a lot of people supporting us behind the scenes. A special thank you to the guests this week for making time for the show. Shout out to Louis Zatzman, Eric Kareen, Vivek Jacob, Savannah Hamilton, Blake Murphy, and Michael Grange, who always joins us every week, especially leading up to the trade deadline. We try to squeeze as many scoops out of Michael, and he delivered for us. So, Alex, I know we have some fan shout-outs as well, so go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give a quick fan shout-out to Shanda. Believe she's from Corner Brook, Newfoundland. She's been
I'm going to look up where that is.
Yeah, she's been a regular listener, and yesterday she hit us up on Twitter because that was one of the questions that you asked on the show yesterday when you took Twitter questions. And she said, I had a question on the show for the third time this year that's 3 more buckets than Svi can make.
Oof.
You've been pushing this. What is this?
Fireworks.
Salami and Svi?
Yeah.
Is that your new thing now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I came up with it. I think I have a vague memory of maybe I saw this on someone on Twitter.
Okay.
So I may or may, I don't want to necessarily take credit for it.
So created by the community.
It's always created by the community, for real. But my question to you is, do you prefer salami and Svi or Svi, lami, and cheese?
I'm cool with either as long as I can actually eat that. Yeah, because you're making me really hungry.
Oh, okay,
is this on DoorDash? Is this a DoorDash read right now?
I'm pretty sure you can order salami and Svi.
Okay, let's go to Rabba after.
Oh, okay.
All you can eat on me.
Why are you always saying all you can eat at Rabba?
Because it's across the street. What do you want me to say? Let's go to Swiss Chalet.
Rooster Coffee? Like, come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Their muffins are good. Shouts to Rooster.
Speaking of Corner Brook, actually, so I looked it up. It's on Newfoundland Island and everything like that. And I don't know, man. This looks great. I actually kind of would love to go to Newfoundland sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take a tour there.
Swing by to France, a.k.a. St. Pierre and Miquelon.
Yeah.
Get some euros, spend some down there. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's do it. No, just wanted to give a couple more shout outs too, because I know we always joke around. Well, we don't joke around. Like, we are the #1 ranked basketball podcast.
This is not a joke. I don't. This is like
Canada.
stats. Like, you could look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned to me before we stepped in that we're #4 overall in Canada.
Canadian sporting podcast.
Across.
Not a Canadian sporting podcast, sorry.
Yeah.
Just sports podcast
Sports.
consumed in Canada.
Okay, so sports.
Yeah.
So we do want to shout out everyone. And, I did jump in and pulled some of the reviews yesterday because it's been a while since we talked about ourselves on the show and bigged ourselves up. You know what I'm saying?
So, you know what? We don't do that enough.
We don't do that enough.
Yeah.
No, we should be a beacon of example, especially in the Asian community. We always talk about, like, we're too humble. Like, if you're good at what you do, you should be proud of it.
Sure, yeah.
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 My mom's like, please be more humble.
Yeah.
So anyways, one user said, best.
I'm the lethal weapon. I do not finish second.
One person left a review, best Toronto and Canadian sports podcast. William and Alex and team continue to be the best basketball and Canadian sports content. It's well produced. That's right. Amazingly coordinated and just well put together. Will's analysis and Alex's casual talk is a perfect mix of fun and seriousness. Here's my challenge to anybody listening that wants to leave a 5-star review. Can you go write something about how, like, Alex's X's and O's analysis and sources around the league are just better than anybody out there right now? So I can screenshot that at my next performance review. That would be appreciated. The review continues. More importantly, it's just amazing representation for the average Canadian listener. Multicultural, food obsessed, and humble. Well, I guess you got to scratch the humble part. And my favorite review is another person. Tom said, the best damn NBA show in Canada. And he said, I would rate this 6 stars if Alex eats his 10 Big Macs in an hour. We'll make that happen.
By the way, we got to check in on some of our predictions because one of them is doing quite well for me is that the Raptors will be higher than...
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah?
Because the week after All-Star, the Raptors don't play for the entire week.
Oh, yeah. We got to ration our
So
content.
we've got Danielle Michaud coming in one day.
You're right.
We're calling in the specialist, Faisal Kamisa.
The specialist.
So there's going to be...
he's the real salami and speed,
So
man.
we're actually going to revisit the over-unders, but I'm also going to present to all of you a new set of over-unders for the second half of the season. So we'll definitely refresh that. And that's about it for the shout-outs, honestly. And shouts to Tristan, our artist.
Of course.
Tristan Douglas, half good, partnered with Sportsnet on his game day posters. So there's a few of those this week. We got to get Tristan to do our merch. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, Masai Ujiri, speaking at the moment. He's already had a lot of bars. And I wanted to play this first clip that Masai said earlier during his presser. He was asked about whether the fans were going to come back to Scotiabank Arena and if there's any thoughts on them potentially relocating for the last couple months of the season.
The conversations is we are never going anywhere. We're staying here. We're not playing anywhere else but Toronto. And I say that firmly and sternly that this is where we're going to play. And our fans will be back and we will be back rocking in our building. I think we were one of the highest approval teams in terms of fans and support and attendance to the games, atmosphere. We love that. This is where we are. We're not experiencing Tampa again. We love Tampa, but we're not doing that again.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the Raptors to relocate the next few months, but it's always nice when the only president I acknowledge steps to the podium and confirms it. Right?
Yeah. Although I gotta say, fans have been in the building.
you looking at two of them right here.
The fan is still alive every time Alex rhymes.
Oh man. Damn, I didn't know you knew that song.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't wait for those spicy buffalo chicken fingers tomorrow at the arena.
This guy been fasting all week.
Oh, come on.
I called for delivery about an hour ago.
I really
Why
did,
do we
man.
have a drop for everything, man?
Why am I a human content machine? I'm the new human highlight reel, man. But yeah, so I think depending on the restrictions provincially, all of that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
We're expecting fans to be back later this month and full capacity by March. And assuming, because it's hard to assume anything living in a pandemic, by the playoffs. Now, I'm going to assume the Raptors are going to be in the playoffs. That's one assumption I'm going to make.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we'll have a full crowd at Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah.
And
we know what that feels like.
Raptors, let's get that number 4 seed. I want that 12:30 p.m. game on Saturday. Game
NBA
1.
TV.
NBA TV and the Discovery Channel. Let's do it.
History Network.
Hey, you know, when you think about it, it's really wild to think the last playoff game at Scotiabank Arena was Game 5 of the 2019 NBA Finals. It has been that long. The last time we walked into the arena, the Raptors, for a playoff game, the Raptors had a chance to clinch their first championship.
Yeah.
So I want it more for I don't care about us. I want that for the fans.
Yeah, of course.
The fans have been so supportive. We know we've got one of the best fan bases in the league with a few bad apples. But, every fan base has a few.
Yeah, we got more than a few. Let's be real, man. The timeline was
I was trying to make it through it without criticizing anybody. It's Feel Good Friday here.
It is.
I just made that up.
It's been 2 straight weeks of positive shows.
We haven't lost. The Raptors haven't lost since the triple overtime war. So
that was a war, yeah.
Please continue the win streak tomorrow. So that was interesting. And then Masai was also asked about the contending window for this team, specifically with the roster currently built around Fred and Pascal. And here's what he said.
Well, if I look at the time, Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, they started at 27 or 20, around that time, right? Yeah, so who am I to say that Pascal or Fred can get better? Yeah, which is really I don't know, is that where your question is going, I'm saying, you're saying that where do they reach their peak, that's what you're talking about. And then the younger players at 21, Barnes and OG. Hey, that's the composition of our team. Yeah, and that's, for me, you have to mix in these players. I feel strongly that Fred, Pascal, these guys can get better. They're going to get even better than they are now. I said this when we talked about this before. And I think Fred making the All-Star it tells me that he got better. I think Pascal is having an All-Star year. I think OG, if he doesn't miss how many games from injury, just like Pascal, he'll be in all those conversations too. Incredible dynamic player. Scotty Barnes, I think they're all getting better, and this is just the composition of our team. Do we have to be at a championship level where all of them are 27 years old, 28 years old, peaking, and now we reach the championship and this is what we're doing? I wish, like I could look at it and tell you, like that's the way it happens all the time. It's not that way.
Masai in the presser was also asked if Scotty Barnes' rookie season so far has vindicated what seemed like a controversial number 4 overall pick at the time. And according to the reporters there, he smiled for 10 seconds and then said, quote, "He's everything that we wanted. Honestly, the spirit of the kid is incredible." I think tacking on to what he said about Fred and Pascal, this reminds me so much of how Masai would talk about the Kyle and DeMar teams.
Yep.
Because he was always in their corner, even during the tough times, even during the playoff exits. He was so patient with that core group, right?
Yep.
Like they would retool, whether it was the roster, whether it was the style of play, all of that. So for me, it's encouraging for me to hear that because I think all of us watching the Raptors, especially over the past 2 weeks, feel that way about this core group.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, this is the difference between a Masai and a Bobby. Many differences, actually. But
We
there's one of the
said
main
this
ones.
yesterday.
Okay. When Bobby goes onto the press conference and he's asked, a standard question, right? Is there any signs from the government that you can have more fans in attendance? Standard question. He'll probably say, we're in dialogue with the governments here and we're always going to follow the protocols and we'll work in tandem. We definitely want to get fans in the building. That's how Bobby would answer that. Listen how Masai answered it. We're not going to play anywhere else. Well, this is Toronto. We're never going to leave here. We
This
have
is
great
Toronto.
attendance.
Believe in Thad Young. Believe in Utah Watanabe.
That's what I'm
Believe in
saying.
Malachi
It's the
Flynn.
same answer. Yeah, Bobby probably say like, "Oh, hey, I'm not a big fan of Brooklyn. Actually, when
I
I
want
lived
Bobby
in New
to
York, I
step
lived
to the
in
podium.
Manhattan.
Yeah,
Like,
step to the podium
I
next time,
lived in
Bobby.
Queens.
I want to hear "Believe in David Johnson." Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Anyway, the other part is just I think with what Masai said about his players, absolutely is true, right? We see players grow and develop all the time. The way players grow and develop is not just a function of age, and you're not just in a roller coaster where you keep ascending from age 19 to like 30, and then afterwards it's all downhill. Although I gotta ask you for your personal experience there, but like,
It's all downhill. Yeah.
It all depends on how much you work and like work to maintain your craft. Like you don't end up losing anything. You look at DeMar, he gets better every year. Kyle consistently got better as well, right? So like I totally believe that about these guys because I believe in the character of these guys. Fred and Pascal, they have set a tone here. They have continued a legacy with the Raptors that has been built here ever since Masai got here in 2013, and they continue to carry that on. It's trickling down to the other players. You see OG, you see Gary, you see Scotty. All these guys are ambitious. They want to do more, and you want to make this money. Like, of course, man. Of course, everyone wants to make big money in the NBA, but how many people are truly willing to work for it? And the Raptors collect guys specifically that will fit their culture, right? And so I respect them a lot. Even a guy like Thad Young. You know what? This is my believe in Thad Young speech. The guy's played in the NBA 15 years. He's 33 years old. First off, that's incredible. He's been in the NBA a long time. Second of all, he's still an effective player at that age, at that experience. The reason why? Because he works hard, he adapts, he's unselfish, he's willing to take on different roles, and he continues to work on his craft, right? And so that also fits the culture of what the Raptors want to do here. So I think, if you're Masai and you're going into that, that locker room, right? I mean, to be fair, most times it's not the most friendly times for general managers or presidents to go into the locker rooms because sometimes there will be at odds. Players will be asking for things. Players might want trades or whatever, right? Not the most friendly time. Sometimes your boss walk into your office. But with Masai, he can relate to everybody there and he can inspire everybody there. So salute to Masai, my second favorite chairman. Anyway.
Oh, my goodness. So Masai also said that he doesn't really like the trade deadline because it's not the ideal time to really build a team. That's more for summertime.
I feel him on that too because that's
Yes.
how he's developed his team over the years too. The only other time he's really made major moves at the trade deadline were Marc Gasol when you're winning a championship. That's a special situation.
And the Serge Ibaka, PJ Tucker year when he acquired those two guys.
So this is like probably his third biggest trade deadline acquisition.
But it's Bobby's time now.
Yeah.
We're on Bobby's timeline. No, but I think to the point of Masai supporting and believing in the growth of his players, the one thing that we should remember too is that he is also not married to the idea of moving forward with whatever core players he believes in. Now, some could argue that maybe he gave the Kyle and DeMar teams too many chances. Maybe he gave Dwayne Casey too many chances. But when it came time and an opportunity came up to acquire a player like Kawhi Leonard, he went ahead and swooped in because it was a no-brainer. So,
but you know what though? You earn your chances in life.
Yep.
And at least that's how it should be. And the players have earned their chances.
Yes.
Pascal and Fred have earned the chance to get to the playoffs this year with them as the leading guys. That's been the first time for them. I know they're champions, and they played major roles for that championship
This is
team.
way different.
This is a different thing, right? And this is their thing.
I think I just more mean to say I think there's fans that are going to be like, oh, Masai is just overvaluing his players. Masai's making all these guys feel like they're untouchable. And that's just not the case. You know, these guys are very flexible in the front office and are willing to change depending on the circumstances. He did speak a little bit about last year in Tampa. You know, it goes without saying, he said we had a tough year. He called it the Tampa tank. The Tampa tank happened. So there, we got the Tampa tank.
I love Masai, man. Why is he so blunt about these things? You know,
this is
He's
why
so blunt, man. This guy says playing for what? This guy said it's a Tampa tank. This guy said we're never leaving Toronto ever again. That one time we left, it was horrible. Now everything he says is bars, man. This guy's he's the lethal weapon.
He is the lethal weapon.
Yeah, you're willing to give that up?
Masai, come on the program. I will officially name you the lethal weapon of the program. We'll make him the global ambassador as well. He also said of Nick Nurse, called him a mad scientist. Okay. He said that's what he is. He lives, he eats, he breathes, he sleeps the game. He sees the big picture. Once again, Nick Nurse is William Liu. The similarities are too hard to ignore at this point, including both of you benching Chris Boucher this year.
No, come on. Why do we have to bring that up, man? Interview of the century. When's that happening? Raptors play at home this weekend.
This weekend is not going to happen.
I can bring the mics anywhere.
No, I followed up. This weekend is not going to happen. Huh? So probably not going to be next week. Probably going to be that week after.
So it's going to be on Zoom.
On the road. No, so they're on the road, but then I think they're going to come home first in Toronto. Oh, they're going to gather in Toronto after All-Star because they're off until Friday.
Right.
The Friday after. So even if the interview can only happen at 2, you go ahead. Me and Faisal will hold it down.
Oh. There'll be no show to come back to.
I've never seen Will sweat. He's sweating right now.
No, I can't wait. The Tampa tank is so good, man.
Yeah, and Masai also said about Thaddeus Young, he said we wanted a veteran-type player, a bird rights type player that came and bridged our young players both in the locker room and on the court. He was asked about Goran Dragic, said, quote, with Goran where we were as an organization at the end of the day, Goran was looking for a contending team that would contend for a championship. And he said that there was a personal situation, and it also allowed the Raptors an opportunity to develop their own players. So Masai just towing the line.
He missed a chance there. He could have said we had higher ambitions.
Well, he's trying to manage relationships with players and agents, you know.
Who's Goran's agent, man?
He can't be, oh my God, what are you going to do? Call him out for 5 minutes? Can you not do a rant about Goran's agent?
I already did it yesterday. It's all good.
You're going to hurt my sources around the league, man.
Your sources? Rade Filipovic? Actually, Bill Duffy? Oh, Bill Duffy? Okay, yeah. Maybe we got to treat Bill Duffy.
Yeah, please leave that alone.
He has a lot of players.
So those are the main things that came out of the Masai presser. Obviously, if we go off air and anything else comes up, we will happily address it on Monday. Before we go, just a few quick news and notes. So the All-Star draft took place last night between Team LeBron and Team KD. Fred VanVleet was the 21st pick in the draft. He did not finish last. That honor belonged to James Harden.
You know, for a while there, as the draft was going on, and I was literally watching it at the office here today, and I was thinking, is Fred going to go undrafted in the All-Star draft? Because they just kept leaving it on the board. They're like, yeah, I'll take DeJounte Murray. I'm like, man, what's he going to do?
How many minutes do you think Fred is playing in the All-Star game?
56.
Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
So, is Nick coaching? Nick says he's going to Cleveland, right?
Nick Nurse says he's planning.
Nick's going to be in Eric Spoelstra's ear like, yo, you saw that triple overtime game? He's got more in the tank. He's play another 10.
He's like, you see what I did to Kemba Walker in Chicago 2 years ago? Play Fred. No, Nick Nurse is going to, he did say after the game last night, he's going to Cleveland to support Fred. Nick Nurse is going to get a firsthand look on what it's like to win a basketball game playing Fred only 5 minutes. So it'll be a new experience.
Damn. No, Fred's going to play more than 5 minutes, man.
He's definitely not going to be in the top minutes, though.
Why not? Why not? You're closing out a game. You want Trae Young
You know
out there?
what? We'll do some All-Star parlays next week.
You saw how intense the end of the All-Star games have been of late, right? Real competitive. Kyle taking charges. You know what the rule is. I forgot what the rule.
I'm setting his over/under at 12.5 minutes.
He's playing. I'm taking the over.
Okay.
I think when you want to close a game, you want a defensively sound point guard get into your set to be able to shoot the ball.
You're talking like Joe Wolfon right now.
No. I'm saying, who would you rather close the game with, Trae Young or Fred? Especially on a game of All-Stars.
To win Fred for entertainment, Trae Young.
Entertainment for what, man? For the other team to score on him? Like, I don't need a prop. I don't need LaMelo out there on that
No,
team.
you're Homer right now. You Homer Simpson.
Nah, man.
So before we go, I need
Fred
to
for
get this.
MVP.
I need to get this Super Bowl parlay guarantee in. So
Yeah, go ahead.
lots of prop bets coming up. I know you're not watching the Super Bowl because
I
you
don't even
only
know
watch the
what that
Raptors. So halftime performance is going to feature Dr. Dre, Snoop, Mary J. Blige,
Yeah.
Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar. 2 prop bets. The first song that's going to be performed at halftime. The favorite is California Love at plus 200. Don't bet that. You'll bet the next episode at plus 375. Just think of the next episode beat. That's the beat that they're going to come out to.
Yeah.
And I want you to parlay that with another prop bet. Will Snoop Dogg smoke on stage? Yes is plus 300. No is minus 450. I've never seen Snoop on stage not smoking. So yes, plus 300. So that is my guarantee.
Wow.
And if that doesn't hit, one lucky listener on Monday may receive a signed copy of Cover Story.
Wow. You're just giving these away.
I hope you're hungry for nothing. All right, we'll do your top 75 animals update next week.
Yeah,
Someone
well, number
wanted
4
that,
is
but
dolphin.
okay.
They play with pufferfish intentionally.
So number
I'll
1
just
duck,
leave it there.
number 2 octopus, number 3 cat,
Yeah.
number 4 dolphin. We will continue this next week.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, that does it for us today. I'm your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. Reminder, we are back in studio and streaming live once again on Sportsnet's YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. Thanks again to producer and co-host Alex Wong, to our board producer Derek Van Dale, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I will talk to you soon.